I'm Ed Schatz. I'm the director of the Center for European, Russian, and Eurasian Studies at the Monk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Toronto in Canada. I know many people are joining us from many places, and we're recording this session, so we'll have many others viewing it at some point in the future. Today is, as most of you will know, International Women's Day. So I guess happy International Women's Day is what we'd say in English. Congratulations on this very fine day, and all the best to you and yours. I learned something about International Women's Day, that it was actually started in 1909 in the United States, of all places, by the Socialist Party of America. And it was forgotten in most of sort of American society, I think, until recently. But of course, it became quite important in the socialist world as a celebration of women and a celebration of female solidarity. It is an absolute pleasure to have Dr. Keya Bayramova with us today to talk about her life, her travels, intellectual, physical, spiritual, creative, and otherwise. It's an extraordinary story in some ways, but ordinary in others, in the sense that people will recognize some of the great themes that are at play that are not unique to Dr. Bayramova, though of course her particular story is quite unique and quite fascinating that way. We're really honored. Keya is a good friend of Sarah's, has been for a long time. Back when we used to meet in person, it was always great to have you around, and we look forward to that in the near future. I won't be introducing Dr. Bayramova directly. We're lucky today to have the ambassador from Turkmenistan to the United States, also Dr. Orazov, Dr. Meret Orazov, who has been the ambassador to the United States from 2001, I think. So a long-standing relationship with the United States, and also a long-standing person who has supported the arts in a variety of ways. It's strange, considering his CV, to think of his commitment to the arts, because he comes purely from the natural sciences, and quite an accomplished academic career before he turned his attention to public affairs and to becoming the ambassador in 2001. And he is the author of over 80 scientific publications, and quite an impressive individual himself. And he has the honor of introducing Keya. Keya, I will take a back seat. The way this will work is we will have Dr. Bayramova present her work to us, her story to us, and then we'll open it up to question and answer towards the end, which I will moderate. And of course, Dr. Bayramova will answer the questions that we're able to get to. So if you have questions at any point, you can put them in the Q&A, which is there's a button at the bottom of your screen. You can put them in at any point, though we won't start the question and answer session until the very end. So once again, welcome, Dr. Bayramova. Over to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And thank you so much, Dean Schatz, for your kind introduction. I just want to add that I'm not only an ambassador to the US, I also ambassador to Canada. So it's one of the reasons, besides the foundation, to the Bayramov Foundation, why I'm here. And I'm ambassador to Canada already from 2016. And I've been a couple of times in Toronto, by the way. So it is a great honor for me to be today with Toronto University, and I sincerely thank leadership of the university and Dr. Keya Bayramova, the president of Durdy Bayramov Foundation, for inviting me here. Today, as mentioned, is March 8th, and it is International Women's Day. The humans already celebrate this day more than 100 years. Let me first congratulate all ladies who participate in this meeting. My special congratulations, of course, to Keya Bayramova with Women's Day. and the Queen Elizabeth Platinum Jubilee Award from Parliament of Canada for contributions for art and culture through the Durdy Bayramov Foundation. She is our outstanding lady who belongs now to Turkmenistan and Canada. It is with great pleasure and honor that already almost 10 years I supported the opening of the traveling exhibition through the eyes of Durdy Bayramov across the educational institutions of Canada, United States, and the rest of the world. In this context, I want to mention Concordia University in Montreal, George Washington University in Washington, D.C., Indiana University, and MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I am glad to do it today for Toronto University. There is some remarkable similarities between some Canadian and American universities. They pay very serious attention and interest to art and culture, not only to their own, but to the culture and history of other nations. And we are so grateful for this. Today we will present a small but very significant part of Turkmen culture. I mean the art heritage of Durdy Bayramov. Who was Durdy Bayramov? Without a doubt, he is one of the most iconic figures in the history of Turkmen culture and art. I personally had the privilege of meeting Durdy Bayramov, who struck me as a humble, kind, and very well-educated man in the history of arts. Bayramov was a nationally known artist and achieved some of the highest and most prestigious accolades for an artist in Turkmenistan, including the honorary title of People's Artist of Turkmenistan. We are grateful to have Durdy Bayramov's works in all the main museums in the capital city of Ashgabat. His art will be enjoyed by generations of Turkmens to come. It's important because in Turkmenistan, we pay special attention to cultural heritage. As a rule, we also pay special attention to the cultural cooperation between countries. Particularly this year, we will be trying to organize cultural days of Turkmenistan in the United States. Maybe one day we will do it for Canada. This is an axiom. The new generation ceases to understand previous generations when cultural heritage is lost or destroyed. And coming back to speak about legacy of Durdy Bayramov, I want to underline his significant impact on the art education and culture of Turkmenistan. He represented our country well at numerous international events, and his paintings were always held in high regard, not only in our home country, but also abroad. Well-known museums of old masters picture gallery in Dresden, Germany, and the State Tretyakov Gallery in Moscow acquired his paintings because of his extraordinary talent. In addition to painting, Bayramov spent a considerable part of his artist career engaged in photography. He became interested in photography during the 1960s and created a very, very impressive collection of this photography. I would like to congratulate Durdy Bayramov Foundation for their important work. Primarily, the foundation was created with the goal of introducing life and work of Durdy Bayramov to the broader world. Now that it has grown significantly, I see the foundation is embracing an idea of promoting Turkmen culture in various ways, and it is a wonderful approach. I wish the foundation a long and successful lifespan. And I am coming back to Dr. Keya Bayramova, and I want to say a few words about museum in Toronto under the name of Durdy Bayramov. The museum was established under mentorship of different professionals from the United States. It was Smithsonian Institute who provided a valuable consultation. So museum is well founded. Together with museum and art foundation, Dr. Bayramova created a powerful organizational instrument to bring Turkmen art and culture to the attention of American and Canadian people. This is achievement of life. Congratulations, Dr. Bayramova. With this, I ask you to start your presentation. Thank you for your attention, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you so much, Keya Bayramov. It is an honor to hear these beautiful, wonderful words from you. So good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining today's talk, which is a tradition, art, and identity. One woman's global journey from Central Asia. My name is Dr. Keya Bayramova, and I'm the founder and curator of Durdy Bayramov Art Foundation and Bayramov Museum in Toronto. Today, on International Women's Day, I would like to share my journey as a woman from my beginnings in Turkmenistan as a daughter of world-renowned artist Durdy Bayramov to my work at the foundation and my multiple successful businesses in Dubai. So firstly, I'll take this opportunity to thank you, the Monk School of Global Affairs, Dr. Edward Schatz, Ms. Arba Bardi, and Rachel Thomas, who helped me to organize this talk. I also would like to say, Your Excellency, Keya Bayramov, Ambassador of Turkmenistan, for the lovely introduction. And thank you for support that you're giving us from the day we started our journey. I know that you were a friend of my father, and I remember the day when I contacted you and say, I'm just, just doing exhibition for my father, because when my father was with me in Toronto, he said, it will be really nice to have exhibition. And I said, Dad, don't worry about it. One day we will do it. But, right now I'm just busy with, having one kid, one kid at a time. So I was busy with the boys, my boys. I have 3 boys. And so it's that exhibition, one exhibition turned to Art Foundation. And then from Art Foundation turned to the museum. So it's all, support from all the people, friends, and the government of Turkmenistan. Thank you so much. When I think of International Women's Day, it always reminds me that spring is close. Spring was my father's favorite season. In fact, one of my older sister, Bahar, was named after the word spring in Turkmen language. During this time, my father would go to plein air and draw beautiful landscapes, photograph the scenery, and enjoy the vast Turkmen landscapes. He was very fond of the elements that made his Central Asia home beautiful: the mountains, the desert, and the carpets of the wildflowers. Poppies were my father's favorite flower, and they grow wild in the springtime. You can see behind me, I put a painting of the wildflowers. And, I have to tell you that it's very difficult to draw wildflowers because they are dying so fast. So my father used to go to a mountain, collect them piece by piece, put it in the corner, and he was trying to draw them like in momentum, so he needs just the hours to complete the paintings. It does not take him like months or days, so it was so fast. So my father lived in the family that was made up of all women. Me, my 3 sisters, and my mom. Her name is Gozel. My father absolutely adored my mother because she was not just his wife. She was his model, she was his muse, She was best friend. He painted many portraits of my mother over his life. And in 2004, my father completed and created a collection of 53 paintings called, so it's a series called Gozelle that my father dedicated to my mom. He wanted to surprise her, and he was drawing that behind, like, you know, he was in the studio, and so he was asking us to not say this to my mom. And one day when he had his exhibition, he presented all these 53 works, and my mom, when she came and saw it, she was amazed, and she said, wow, when did you do that? So basically this is a series. My mom and my dad, they lived together 49 years. You know, and unfortunately my dad passed away, so my mom always saying he could live at least 1 year more just to make us like 50 years together. Now I want to tell you a little bit about my country, Turkmenistan. Every time I travel, you know, people are asking, where are you from? So when I say I'm from Turkmenistan, people, they say, where is it? So I'm sure many of people here, they know where is Turkmenistan, but let me just give you a little bit background. So Turkmenistan is bordered by Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Iran, and the eastern shoreline of the Caspian Sea. For centuries, it was been a meeting point and a crossroad for many different civilizations. For example, the ancient oasis city of Merv, located at the Mari province of modern Turkmenistan now, has occupied a strategically important position along the Silk Road for over 2,000 years. During the early days of Turkmenistan, Merv was famous for its market, tea houses, mosque, as well as the libraries that made it globally important center in science and cultural. In recognition of its long history, Merv was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1999 and named a cultural capital of Turkic world by International Organization of Turkic Culture in 2015. Following the collapse of USSR in 1991, Turkmenistan became a secular state with a mostly Muslim population. We are around 6 million people. The population of Turkmenistan is made of 5 different tribes, which are Teke, Yomut, Chodur, Sarik, and Ersari. It is known for traditional carpets. There are 5 designs, which we say in Turkmen language, göl, that connects to each of 5 tribes. Additionally, Turkmenistan have 5 different regions, which we call wilayats. My father born in Turkmenistan in 1938, when it was part of USSR. Unfortunately, he became an orphan at a young age. He was raised in orphanage in Kızılarvat region of Turkmenistan. Over his career, my father painted and photographs portraits of hundreds of women from Turkmenistan. In his series, Cultural Figures, my father painted over 150 people who impacted the country in arts and cultural scene. Many of them were women. You can see in this portrait, it's a portrait of Maya Medeva. She is a renowned Turkmen actress, and she's people artist of USSR and Turkmenistan. Many people, I mean, like we all know Maya Medeva. She was an actress in many Turkmen films. This portrait now is a collection of Bayramov Museum. My father was interested in taking photographs of older people, although every time he did so, he experienced a degree of trepidation. This was because he secretly longed to find his mother or father among them, as he was orphaned. He often said, in face of every woman, I look for my mother. All he knew of his parents was that they possibly live in one of the villages in the Mari region. which might explain why most of his photographs and the paintings were taken in that area of the country. In the Turkmen language, the name Bayramov means just simply Bayram, without a Slavic OV suffix that was Russified the names during the Soviet era. The name Bayram means celebration in Turkic languages. And my father lived up to that name. He was known for celebrating his family and friends and the rich and beautiful culture of Turkmenistan through his artworks. My father, he made sure that I and my three sisters were always connected with our Turkmen roots and cultural. So in this painting, you can see a young woman wearing Turkmen traditional dress and the headscarf, and it was me in 1991. When Turkmenistan was part of USSR, highly educated and skilled artists like my father became representative of their respective countries via artist unions. This said, he could not sell his work privately. Artist union could commission it and have it seen to different museums, but my father wouldn't know where it was going. Because of this, works of Turkmen artists working during that time were not well known, simply because they were not available outside of USSR. While we start working on the foundation, and the time when we did the research, we find 29 museums around the world that have my father paintings. My father was a passionate advocate for the art education for all who inspire to devote their lives to it, especially underprivileged children and youth. He loved teaching art and often bought art supplies for students who could not afford them. To continue his legacy, my family and I have established the Durdy Bayramov Art Foundation in Toronto, a non-profit organization dedicated to celebrating the life and legacy of my father through educational programs that foster cultural exchange and stimulate the vitality of the arts. Now allow me to present you a short video that will show you a background, how we started the foundation and about my father.
Known as the People's Artist of Turkmenistan, painter Durdy Bayramov was born in the city of Bayramali on April 14, 1938. Tragically, he was orphaned at a very young age and subsequently grew up in an orphanage in Kizlarvat. Despite his difficulties, in 1959, Bayramov went on to graduate from art college with honors and distinction. After graduating, he decided to pursue his education further and went on to study arts at the university in Moscow. It was during this time that Bayramov had his first solo exhibition, a series of paintings and drawings that he had completed during a trip to India. When he completed his university education, Bayramov returned to his beloved homeland and settled in the city of Ashgabat. Soon after, he began to participate in national art exhibitions, in addition to teaching at the art college that he himself had attended. The artist worked for 55 prolific years and had over 100 solo and group exhibitions. In an exhibition dedicated to his 70th birthday, the president of Turkmenistan awarded him with a prestigious For the Love of the Motherland medal.
Художник, он не может быть без работы, потому что работаешь ли ты не для себя. Произведение искусства тоже живот. Оно тоже должно работать, как и люди, как вот как жизнь. Полотна эти, вот они чтобы играли. Чтобы они выполняли свое назначение.
Он просто влюбился в эту страну, природу этой страны, особенно осень, красочная, яркая осень. И один день он мне сказал: «Дочь, хорошо было бы сделать выставку в Канаде». К сожалению, когда папа не стало, что-то мне не давало покоя. Я решила, надо сделать выставку. Когда я сделала выставку, это мне дало толчок. Это был, наверное, сигнал, что я должна сделать дом-музей имени своего отца.
Я надеюсь, что этот фонд будет играть большую роль в организации сотрудничества между культурой Запада и культурой Востока, между культурой Туркменистана и культурой Канады, Америки.
I was here for about 4 hours. I ended up just walking through the museum and really being blown away by all the amazing pieces of artwork that I was seeing for the first time.
Вот эту вот красоту, на самом деле красота. До меня до этого не доходило раньше. И вот эта вот миссия, это передавать людям добро, любовь. Ну, все самое хорошее, что есть у нас в людях, что должно быть в людях.
Ты видишь не только портреты людей, ты видишь их судьбы, их состояние души, но и прекрасные картины, натюрморты, безумно красивой краски, гамма, которые тебе дают позитивные эмоции, которые дают тебе вдохновение дальше продолжать и творить.
It's a great news story for Toronto. I love looking at it. It's incredible work that everybody needs to experience because it's one of a kind.
It's part of the very large series of photographic exhibitions which is annually being done here in Toronto. It's a real center of photography showings right now.
Начинать надо с фундамента. Если нет фундамента, не построится и здание. Поэтому мы начали с архива.
He was known in that part of the world, in Soviet Union, in Central Asia, but never introduced in North America. So that's what we're trying to do. It will be a little bit challenging, but at the end of the day, we'll achieve our goals.
Вот его жизнь шла через его искусство.
Если есть любовь, то нет никаких преград.
После того, как я однажды полюбил искусство с помощью моих учителей, то до сих пор я не могу расстаться.
Thank you for watching. So I'll continue. It's sad. It's really sad. I cannot believe that, I still don't believe that my dad is not around. During his life, my father was collected hundreds of the culturally significant artifacts that includes example of the rare carpets, old jewelries, clothing, and textiles. This item was used as the background, part of the costumes for portraits or for still lifes. While he collected these traditional pieces from the young age, he never realized that they would one day be featured in the museum as works of ethnographic, the objects, ethnographic history. One favorite of my father's was collecting traditional clothing and textile, as they both hold significant cultural and religious meaning, as well as provide interesting and colorful subject matter for his work. For instance, this is a painting of Baji Daiza. Daiza, meaning in Turkmen language, is aunt or aunt figure. She is an older woman who is sitting in front of the ornamental woven felt known as keçe and wears a traditional headscarf. In Turkmen culture, there is a significant respect paid to elders, and women are the gatekeepers and homemakers of the family. Fascinated with the everyday life of common people, my father often painted individuals of the average class interacting with the cultural objects. In this painting, you can see it's called Woman in Kurta. He painted a woman in traditional wardrobe belonging to a married woman. This robe, known as kurta, or we call chirpi in Turkmen language, is made for bride from the red keteni, which is a typically handmade silk fabric. The embroidery is also associated with the worship of the fertility and symbolize the wishes of well-being, prosperity, and childbearing. Women's clothing in Turkmenistan is often made with the brightly colored silk. Their headdress was decorated with the plaques, chain, belts, and coins made of silver with the precious stones. Today, Turkmen women are seen wearing white silver bracelets on their wrist, insert with the carnelian stones. Yeah. As many tribes were nomadic, men were historically animal farmers and spent a lot of time out of home. Their clothing often consisted as a long robe called a don and an unmistakable wool hat called telpek. The hat would keep them cool in summer and warm in the winter. And you can see Dr. Schatz. That's a beautiful picture I found, and I couldn't not include this in my presentation back in 2018. You look great in this hat. During his visit, the most remote parts of Turkmenistan, my father would often visit the local bazaars and look for the rare and interesting pieces of Turkmen jewelry and cultural objects to be used in his painting. He collected a huge amount over his lifetime and created a beautiful example of cultural artifacts of Central Asia. This painting from his series, again, Cultural Figures of Turkmenistan, this Turkmen Usta Adam, or jeweler, we call handyman, and his tools of the trade. Turkmen jewelry has always played an important role in the culture of Turkmenistan. This portrait, we move to the next slide. Okay, so this is a picture. I'm wearing a traditional silver headdress, which was in Ashgabat. And this piece, you can see, this is a beautiful piece. It's also part of the collection. This portrait is for my grandmother. Okay, my father is a mother-in-law. It shows the layers of traditional dresses and the headwear, as well as the carnelian necklace with the silver coin. All of these elements show her age and status. Younger girls would be dressed with the jewelry featuring precious gemstones, and when she reached maturity, would be allowed to wear heavier pieces as a rite of passage. A bride's jewelry has many pieces and details design and weight around 30 to 36 kilograms to show her status. Now, in this painting, my father shows us a mother and daughter in their respective clothing and jewelry in the middle of the conversation. The daughter is wearing a skull cap. In Turkmen language, we call guppa. It's a traditional headdress that shows she is not yet married. Another type of artifacts that my father collected was carpet. Carpet weaving is one of the most ancient forms of Turkmen applied art. Turkmenistan is famous for its carpet, which are considered by experts to be the descendant of a purest and oldest carpet weaving traditions in Central Asia. In fact, the Turkmen carpets is so important to the cultural that we have national holiday was created called Turkmen Carpet Day. So you can see this is a famous painting, and it's in Tretyakov gallery in Moscow called Turkmen Carpet Makers. You can see it's a teke carpet, and we have in Turkmenistan, we have a saying, show me your rug and I will tell you from which tribe you are. So we also have, due to the nomadic lifestyle, horses are also very important part of Turkmen cultural. As a testament to their importance, a halteke horse is featured on the national emblem of Turkmenistan. The halteke horse is considered one of the oldest horse breeds, estimated to be over 3,000 years old. They're prized because of their resilience to extreme weather conditions, as much as their endurance, speed, and intelligence. The horse is source of pride for Turkmen people. It is also interesting to note that Turkmenistan is only country in the Central Asia that we don't eat horse meat. I believe my father had profound impact on my life. His interest in preserving Turkmen culture through his art and collection give me a unique perspective on life and art, and still inspire me to this day. He insisted that each of his daughters, including myself, we begin with the degree in art before moving to any other the education or career. So this is a painting my father drew when I was very little, and it's called Keika's birthday. So he always called me as a small girl Keika. And this painting in the museum in Ukraine. We all did so. So I was saying that we all did our degree, and it has remained an impactful part of my life. My father was an incredible, generous person and had no interest in selling his work for commercial gain. In fact, he donated many pieces to many different museums in addition to the friends and family. This helped me to create the foundation as it stands today, and we only have a small fragment of, we have about maybe 5,000 pieces of my father's work, plus the artifacts, different artifacts. As the founder and curator of the foundation, I have made it my passion to celebrate my father's lives and offer education about my home country of Turkmenistan. We not only have the largest collection of my father's work in the world, but have also cataloged and kept each artifact from his extensive collection and library. My father, during his lifetime, he collected art books, and he collected over 6,000 books that is now part of the museum collection, which is accessible to the students as well. So using all these materials, the foundation has developed public art programs and scholarship for young artists. Most recently, an exhibition of my father's photograph has been traveling to the various universities, as Ambassador Orazov mentioned. This exhibition traveled to the Columbian University, George Washington University. We have been in University of Toronto in Monk School, Indiana University, MIT in Boston, and many different museums, or so the universities. The exhibition is called Through the Eyes of Durdy Bayramov Turkmen Village Life, 1960s to 1980s. We also published a book together with the Smithsonian Institute, which is available in over 400 different institutions, university libraries around the world. Like these paintings, okay, let's speak about this. Like these paintings, my father captured images of Turkmen people going about their daily life and create a time capsule of the social cultural history of Turkmenistan. During this time, we published 3 different books, which, as I already mentioned, one was with the Smithsonian, one book we published together with the Museum of Fine Arts in Turkmenistan, and one book we published through our publishing house, the Bayramov Publishing House. Unfortunately, during the COVID, our museum is not open to public anymore, and right now we are continuing to work remotely, but our exhibition is still on. I guess now, you know, I said a little bit about my father. I say a little bit about foundation, about Turkmenistan. Now I'm ready to say my story, my journey, how a girl from Turkmenistan, from the family of the 4 girls, who was never accepting being a daughter of. In Turkmenistan, we have, you know, we always say who you are daughter of. So you have to say who's your father. They don't ask your name. They, you know, there was no identity. So I was never accepted that, and I was used to say to my dad, "Dad, why they don't ask what's my name? Why they want to know who is my dad?" So, and I was never, you know, I was not happy with that. And with the help of my parents, of course, my mom and my dad, I moved to Dubai 30 years ago. This year is 30 years since I'm in Dubai. It's came to Dubai in 1993 with a $20 in my pocket. And you know, I had the opportunity to work in the hospitality sector, and then being here in Dubai after 4 years, I opened my own business, and start with one business, which was trading import-export in the food industry, and then I moved to manpower supply. So manpower supply, I've been doing that for over 19 years, and we bring manpower from the different countries to United Arab Emirates. So we consider one of the biggest company, one of the top 10, we say top 10 company that are bringing people to Dubai and to this region. Now expanding and going to Saudi Arabia. So we're bringing around 25,000 people every year. This is just my company. Apart from manpower, I have also a maintenance company and fit out, and newly opened company. I mean, okay, it's called Parent Concierge. Being a mom of 3, you know, traveling around the world, I saw the needs of service, and therefore I opened a company called Parent Concierge. It's a concept when we help newcomers to come to UAE and helping them finding their home, you know, place their children to school, etc., till they don't say, okay, now we feel that we are home. So and okay, so I also have real estate. Now I'm thinking, you know, because I have to say all the companies that I have. So I have real estate company, and I still have so basically I have 5 companies, 5 companies, and I'm very, very busy. Plus I'm a mom, I'm also a daughter. So I have never forget my roots, and like my father, always believe in the goodness and fairness of all people. Inspired by my 3 boys, I'm always on the lookout for ways I can help other women and families. As I mentioned, I recently opened a Parent Concierge where I'm helping other parents as well, and where I'm hiring a woman as much as possible, and particularly in non-traditional roles. After multiple successful business ventures and multiple degrees and my certifications, I also just received my doctorate from INSEAD, which is known as the Business School of the World. Once my dad, he said, Keya, it will be really good if you continue your higher education. And I said, Dad, I really don't need that, because I'm not going to work for somebody, and I don't need to add that to my CV. And he said, trust me, there will be a day when you rethink that, you know, you will be really proud of yourself if you do that. So after my dad passed away in 2014, I went through a difficult divorce, and I have to put aside my studies. And today I can proudly say that I did it for my dad. And now my mom, I guess she's watching now, she's proud of me also. And now in my family, they're all joking, and my kids also, and they call me Dr. Keya, Dr. Keya. It really feels good. You know, I did that for my dad, and I'm so, so proud of it. Okay, so I guess I just want to conclude my presentation and say, coming from my beginnings as a daughter of an artist, I'm still inspired by Turkmen culture in my everyday life. It is an integral part of my identity, even though I'm now living in Dubai. And I like to share one piece of valuable advice that my father gave me. He used to say in a previous slide that the better a person sees, the better he lives. Learn to see and perceive the world around you, the colors and diversity of nature, and how interesting each person is. This is how he lives his life, and how I continue to live my life. Thank you so much.
Okay, this is where we miss being in person, because everyone would everyone would stand up. So everyone will have to accept my applause on behalf of the entire group and anybody who watches this in the future. That was a lovely exploration of, I was thinking of roots and roots, right? They're your roots in the sense of where you come from. Yeah. Particularly your father and his legacy, but also the roots that you're traveling, or that you have traveled, over the course of a couple of decades now, and that I'm sure that more interesting or the interesting travels will continue, right? And actually, maybe I wanted to ask that as kind of a first question. I wonder if maybe we should stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just for now, we can pull up slides or images as people if people have questions. I wanted to start off with the first question, and then I'll start monitoring the Q&A button at the bottom. Just a reminder, if anybody has questions, you go to the bottom of the screen. You should see the Q&A, and we will get to as many questions as we have time for. But I guess my question is really about how you manage to have a sense of connectedness to legacies and to place and to culture, right? Because obviously it's a key part of who you are as a human being, the sense of connection. But how you do that at the same time as you are in a way disconnected, or at least physically distant from the place where you grew up, and you're experiencing new things. And so does it feel like there's a tension sometimes between feeling connected on the one hand and feeling, sort of able to experience your own travels on the other? You understand the question?
Yeah. Surprisingly, Edward, every time I go to Turkmenistan, I always say I'm going home. The moment when I enter to the house where my parents live, where I grew up, I really feel this is my home. Though I live more than half of my life out of Turkmenistan. And I don't know. It's really feels. When I travel to Turkmenistan, I really feel warm. It's. They said the walls in the house where you grow up, okay, is making you to protect yourself. And every time I speak about identity with my kids, because my kids is half, so they're half Turkmen, yeah. And then so I have to always say, when people they ask you, what do you say, where are you from? So my kids are saying we are Canadians because we grow in we born and grow up in Canada, but my mom, she's from Turkmenistan. They never say mom is Canadian or mom is, she's living in Dubai. They always say my mom, she's from Turkmenistan. Yeah, so I don't know, I still wear my traditional clothes. I love my jewelry. I love my Turkmen clothes, but the shame on me that after so many years, I definitely lost my Turkmen language. I understand, but I don't speak anymore like I used to speak. Yeah, and I'm still going every year to Turkmenistan. Now from Dubai to Turkmenistan is only 2 hours by flight, so I could go every weekend. Yeah.
No, that's true. The distance does help, and Toronto, of course, to Ashgabat is a little bit more distant. So Dubai is not a bad location for that, for sure. I mean, actually, in a way, you started to answer a question that Sasha Aganova asks. She says, on this International Women's Day, please share with us what keeps you going and keeps you so strong. So I wonder if, what keeps you going? What keeps you so strong? I mean, maybe you partially started to answer that, but do you have any other thoughts?
I think, I have no other choice. I'm a person that I'm a warrior, and I would never give up. Maybe that's why I'm a mother of 3 boys, so that I always say, it's easy to say I'm done when it's very difficult to say, you know, I will keep going and I'll do that. So it's one I think one of the important reason that why I keep going is also an example for my kids and for other women, that nothing is impossible. Growing up in the family of 4 girls, and when my father was orphan, you know, hearing every day from my mom and dad that our responsibility as a parents is to give you education, but how you want to live your life, how you want to proceed, it's your own choice. It's in your hand. You choose, okay, and this is how you should live. And I always say, you know, like I am blessed that my mom, she's with me, and she's every day, you know, when I come home, she's waiting for me and she say, what is the news? And I'm, you know, happily sharing with her always, okay, mom, this is what I have done. And every time I do something, it's now more about contribution and sharing, that I share with the community, share with the people, share my knowledge, share my mistakes also. And you know, it's so it's just you know, you keep going. I'm not sure if I answered the question.
I mean, it's inspiring, of course, and you know, I think that on some level, probably some people are born with that as, you know, in their DNA, right? That they're going to keep going in spite of whatever challenges they might face. So, as they say, your mileage may vary. So somebody else in Keya's situation might not take to it with such grace and energy. But still, those are really inspiring sorts of words. There's a question. There's a couple of questions coming in, and one of them is about you know, returning to your father's art, and you know, knowing that I mean, it's his art. It wasn't your art, though. You of course are, you know, well placed to discuss it. I have a question first, and then I'll turn to one of the questions from there. It's you know, the period you know, after Stalin's death, and then into, you know, Khrushchev and beyond. So really the Brezhnev years in the Soviet state, there was this flourishing of sort of national cultures across Central Asia, Turkmenistan included, really across, you know, former Soviet space. And so it was a moment where people could sort of breathe deeply and actually begin to get in touch with national traditions. And so you see this flourishing in art and music and literature, poetry, and other kinds of areas. And so, but that's a particular moment in time. And I guess I wonder what happens after the Soviet collapse. Like, what is the state right now of art in Turkmenistan? Has it shifted sort of the kinds of content, the motifs that are discussed, the themes that are covered? This may not be something you know too much about, but I'm just thinking about your father as, in a way, very much a product of his time. And if he were, let me ask it differently, if he were around right now, or if he'd been born in your generation, would his art be the same, or would it be different?
You know, I had a conversation about it with my dad. And once I asked him, I said, Dad, do you consider yourself a Russian artist, or you consider yourself as Turkmen artist? You know, he was thinking, and he said, you know what, of course, I got my education in Russia, and my style, you know, and my academic background is Russian style. But I would answer that I'm a artist for the people. you know, my art is belong to the people. It does not it does not belong to any cult, it does not belong to any part of the world. You know, because it's also interesting. When we was doing the research, and you know, if let's say if we are talking about horses, okay, then we have a series of the called Ashgabat Ashgabat horse race when my dad was participating. So then if we will talk about doctors, then my father has portraits of the different doctors. Then if you talk about okay, you just give me a example. Okay, so if you talk about agricultural, if you talk about you know, he have done so much in a different in different areas, so that we can let's say if this magazine, for example, they want to publish something that is you know, the makeup, okay, something of makeup. So we put melons because there is a cosmetic brands that is making everything from the melons. You know, it's absolutely connect to every different part of our life, that it's very difficult to say that where he is, like where he consider himself. But of course, because he born and brought up in Turkmenistan, you can see in his paintings you know, bright colors, red colors, which is a colors of Turkmenistan.
No, that's great. I have more questions, but there's a good one here as well. Thank you for introducing us to your father's amazing work. I wonder if you can speak to any historical transitions in your father's work. You remember Picasso had a blue period, a red period, and so on. I mean, certainly there was some evolution in your father. So, for instance, did his pieces demonstrate pre to post Soviet forms, right? Because he did paint after the Soviet collapse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so luckily I have an art education. My first education was art. So yeah, and you know, every year I used to travel with my dad. So I made my time, and every year, 1 month in a year, me and my dad, two of us, we travel a different country just to see the museums. We were in Italy for 1 month. We went for 4 different cities. We were in Rome, Milan, the Florence, and Venice. So when we traveled with him that 1 month, we only did 9 to 5, only museums, nothing else, no shopping, no any other, no movies, no nothing, just 9 to 5, only museums. And I was doing this not because I really loved to go to the museum at that time. I was just doing this for my dad, while I did not understand that he prepared me for all this kind of work that I'm doing right now. So if I go to any museums without looking at any painting, I can say, okay, this is Lawrence, this is Monet, you know, I could just, you know, easily do that. So coming back to the question, so there was a period of time, I would say, you can also see, it's again, when we did the research, at the time of the Soviet Union collapse, okay, his paintings from the year like 92 to 90, probably 96, you could see his paintings or colors are all dark. You know, there was no bright colors. It was all more of the brown colors. And, you know, the reason why, I know exactly the reason. Okay, not because everything was dark, it's just because he didn't have a paint. He didn't have all range of paint at that time. You know, we went, it was so difficult in the country, you know, when Soviet Union collapsed, that people, you know, there was no food, so nobody was thinking about art. paint because art supply was really expensive. So, and he experienced himself, you know, he was saying, I'm very loyal to traditional realism. And he always say, you know, while we travel with my dad, we was always going to the different art universities, you know, studios. I make arrangement for him to see a different dean or the classes, etc. And he was always saying that it is important to have a base because everyone is looking at and speaking about Picasso, okay? But people, they not realizing that Picasso, before he goes to the Cubism, he was a perfect, okay, he knows the foundation of the realism. So now these days, people are just, you know, go to the modern art and drawing the circles and triangles, you know, and saying that it took me years to make this perfect, you know, when actually, okay, sorry to say, so not just, yeah, this is my personal opinion, you know, so it's that the important is to have the foundation. So my dad was always said, you know, I'm loyal to the traditional realism. I'm drawing for the people. So when people come to see my work, they don't have to think. They don't have to know the background of the painting. They can see and understand, okay? This is chair, this is flower. So they don't have to think, maybe this is this, maybe this is that. So because, you know, apart for being an artist, now you have to be also a good storyteller. When before time, you know, you just have to be artist.
That's great. There are a lot of people asking questions that are not questions. All they want to say is how wonderful your presentation was. So I'm just going to read a few of them. So these are not questions. Ever inspirational, Keya. Thank you once more. This is not a question, but wanted to say amazing presentation. Truly proud to see the beautiful representation of our Turkmen culture through the art of Durdy Bayramov. It's an honor to listen and get a little bit closer to home. Somebody just says, thank you, you're amazing. So these are all in the chat. And so I have to agree with those. But my job is to ask questions. So I'm going to move on to actual questions. Well, there's one question here that's actually kind of simple, but it opens up potentially wide possibilities, which is, what is on your artistic bucket list? I don't know if you know the expression bucket list. Do you know that expression? It's a.
I would say it's you know, having a bucket list. Okay, I would say my end goal. Okay,
right. I mean, the idea of a bucket. Yeah. The idea. Sorry to interrupt. The idea of a bucket list is things you must do before you kick the bucket, which is a euphemism for dying. Yeah. So what do you want to do artistically or see or experience artistically before you kick the bucket?
Yeah, so that's why I say my last goal. I think, you know, every one of us, we came to this world as the guest, but for some mission. And I believe my mission is to continue my father's legacy. And my end goal will be to have museum in Dubai, but name after my father, but it will be a Central Asian museum, so that it's, you know, there is a lot of people, and you know, the Dubai is also like Toronto, is a multicultural. There is so many people from Central Asia, and I believe if we can do that, then, you know, if many people who is living here will also have a home. That will be my, you know, if I would consider myself to came to this world for the reason, and my mission, it will be completed when I establish the museum here.
Well, one thing I've learned about you over the years is that if you decide that that's on your list, then you can be sure that you will.
I'm close to that now. I'm very close.
Very good. Well, I will be the first in line buying tickets. I'll wear whatever hat you want me in. I will wear And
okay, now speaking about the tickets, you know, when we open in Toronto, we've been contacted by the city, and they said, okay, we will include you, this Bayramov Museum, together with the other museums in city, so that people can buy one ticket and they can go for the 3 different or 4 different museums. And unfortunately, I have to say no, because I have to, I'm just following what my father was saying and what his wish was. He used to say, art has to be accessible to everyone. And he really loves the idea of the Metropolitan Museum at that time, when you can just enter and pay as much as you can. If you don't have, it's okay. So my dad, he always say, art has to be accessible and it should be free. So no tickets. You will be the first one to welcome to the museum without paying anything.
okay, all right. I'll maybe it's a free ticket, but that's fine. You have to regulate the crowd somehow. So that's maybe for that. Somebody named Lydia Chikalova is offering to help you set up the museum. So I don't know if you know that person, but apparently you have at least one volunteer.
Yes. I guess I have to just put also in the chat my contact. Yeah, and so if people they want to say, you know, if people they want to help, or people want to ask something, they welcome that. Yeah.
There's an interesting question here asking you about a turning point in your life, a turning point which might have changed your idea about life, made you go all out. And it looks like there's a second part to the question. Being such a strong woman, do you believe that it's good to have a supportive man in your life, or will you suggest women to work hard and fly solo? Okay, so you mentioned the difficult divorce. Again, you're more than strong enough for any kind of challenge. So I think I know where this may end up. But the question is, so there's 2 points: turning points, and then specifically, you know, supportive man in your life, or not necessary.
Is this a question come from men? I'm sure.
Judging by the name, probably yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I would say, okay, so I never against to have a family. You know, myself, I grew up in the family with the mom and dad. So I always think that it is very, very important, even for my kids now, to have, you know, to have a man around is very, very important. For me, of course, looking, you know, thinking that, okay, I'm a strong woman, but it does not mean that you know, I don't need shoulder. Of course I need, but I need a right shoulder. Okay, if the God is sending me a good man, I would never say no. But I need a man who will be supportive, who will not drag me down and say, you know what, it's a time for you to sit home, and I don't want to sit home, you know, because I have I have my bucket list, and I have a lot of things to do, and I need to, you know, I need to finish them. So if the men who will be in my life, who will be supportive to contribute and help me to achieve, so I can do exactly the same thing, I will be always supportive, and we can fly together instead, you know, flying alone. We can always fly together.
No, that's great. That's super helpful. Was there a turning point in your life that you can identify? That was, I mean, okay, the divorce seems like an obvious one, but given what you've said so far, were there other key turning points in your life that sort of opened your eyes to new possibilities, to new ways of thinking?
Of course, you know, I never say no to the new opportunities. I'm not scared to experiment. You know, I like to do new things. I like to learn new things. I like to experience, you know, now, you know, I got the opportunity to work, to get the work in Saudi Arabia. And I say, why not? Why not? You know, it is something that is opening up, and there is opportunity, you know, I will go ahead. It's a willingness, you know, this is how you want to live your life. You want to stay home, you know, you want to at some point of time, in life also, in a certain age, you want to come home from work and, just lie down in the sofa. When I come back home, I always work, but I spend a lot of time with my kids. I'm a basketball mom. My kids are all playing basketball, and, every Sunday, it's become a tradition for us. We're waiting for that Sunday, we cheer, we scream, we shout, it's just an amazing, different, out of my work. So, I'm like every other woman, having a home, having kids, keeping home safe. So
that's good. And there's a question here from a certain Keya Bayramova.
That's my mom. Okay, Mama, you go ahead.
So Mom asks in perfect English, what will be your advice to struggling women who are not able to make it yet?
Okay. So that's a discussion between me and my mom. And one day we had a discussion with her. I said, Mom, when I say that, she's always laughing, but she said, okay. So I said, Mom, I don't want to spend my time standing in the kitchen and cook for 3-4 hours when I can do something bigger, okay, and something better, and contribute and help some other people. And she said, what do you think? My parents, they bring me to this world to stand in the kitchen and take care of you, 4 of you. So why not you? And it's just a different time. It's a time when everything is more easy, and I can cook, but I can cook only when I have time, and I can do that only for my kids. So, but my advice will be for the woman who didn't make it: believe in yourself, believe, and you have the goals. It's everyone is dreaming, but the way how I think, I have short goals. So I accomplish those short goals, okay? Like, let's say I say, okay, this year I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So I go to that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till the end in December. I say, okay, I have done this. Okay, so the next year I have another goal. I'm not just sitting and dreaming, okay, I want tomorrow to have a mansion, okay, which is not possible. Okay, I am logically having a goal for myself. Okay, so one day I say, okay, I need to complete that study. So that will take me 5 years. Do I have that much time? But time is flying. So, you just focus and you decide what you want. And everything, trust me, do not scare of anything. Just do it. You will always have a support. You will never be alone.
Well, it's clear that you have supportive family. And so, it's really interesting. I mean, there's actually there's a final question that I see here about independence. I think you've touched on most of it. I'll mention it, but I mention it in this context of, it's so much, it strikes me, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but that being independent requires connectivity, right? I mean, you have supportive people around you. Maybe you attract supportive people, but of course you're born into a family that seems to have been, quite supportive. And the question that's asked here is, could you elaborate on your views regarding independence and how an individual can achieve success by being independent? I guess maybe I would change the question a little bit and say, what does actually independence really mean in the context where you have these great social, emotional supports, right? From your kids, from your mom, from your father during his time.
Yeah, if you remember, I began by telling, when I came to Dubai, I had $20 in my pocket. I have gone through the tough times in my life. There's many times that I fall down, start crawling, learning how to walk again, falling down again. So till, it took me several years to stand strong on my foot. today I can say, yes, absolutely, I am independent, but I think it's important. I think it's important to be independent, because now I'll explain for you now my view as a mom of 3 boys. Okay, we get used to, as women, thinking that the man is the breadwinner for the house, which is, I think I have to disagree. Okay, because now these days everything is changing. You know, men and women, we are trying to be equal. We are saying, okay, women empowering. We, you know, we start to talk about ourselves. You know, the woman CEO, women, etc. You know, but we forget that, okay, men, it's not his job to take a burden another person apart from his family, because he has his own mom, dad, etc. You know, so I think both women and men have to contribute together, and they grow together. Okay, so they both can be independent. So of course I learned how to have my own bank account. Okay, I will never have any more joint account. You know, because it's easy to have you know, the account alone than, you know. You know, but it is important. I think it's important to be independent. Okay, but you don't forget, you never forget about people who was standing, or who is standing with you, people who's around you. You never stop helping other people.
No, I think that's great. I mean, in a way, it kind of brings us back to, you know, to Turkmen culture, maybe, right? Because, I mean, before the Soviet, you know, going way back in history, before the Soviet era, we're talking about nomadic or semi-nomadic groups, which, you know, have close connections to the people around them, looser connections to territory, right? But they still have a strong sense of identity, no matter where they travel to, no matter where they end up. The sense of community, nonetheless, I think remains strong. I don't know if that's a legacy of 100 years ago. It's a bit hard to talk in that way, but nonetheless, I mean, it strikes me that part of your ability to strike out and be independent is a sense that you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, you're going to remain connected to that, you know, that net of people who you've grown up with and whose company you've enjoyed.
I guess because it's you know, it's all for the credit. It goes for my parents, because as I mentioned, you know, growing up in a family of 4 girls, and when my father was orphan, he was always saying, okay, it is important for you to be independent. It is important. You cannot depend on anyone. You know, you have to only depend on yourself. And luckily, you know, we all 4 girls, we are all independent.
Yeah. Well, I don't see any other questions. We've had a wide-ranging discussion, and in a way, you know, and I know we talked about this before, in a way, there are almost 2 different talks. There's a talk about your father and his legacy, and then there's a talk about you, but you can see how they come together so beautifully, and it seems like his legacy continues to inform, I mean, not just the artistic legacy, but maybe his moral, emotional, spiritual legacy continues to inform how you approach the world, how you approach what you do, and it is truly inspiring, as somebody said in the Q&A, and a great way to celebrate International Women's Day. I know every woman's experience is going to be different, but you know, there are variations on certain themes, and I think that, you know, people, in spite of your achievements and accomplishments and global travels and particular circumstances, I think people can identify with the things that you've experienced and the way you talk about it. So I still can see that person who came to Dubai with $20 in her pocket. There's a certain lovely modesty in spite of the achievements that you've the achievements that you've managed to do in your life. There's another question.
I can see also.
Let's make this the final question.
I can see you share the article that came today from the Gulf News.
Yes, I shared that in the chat, so hopefully people have had a chance to look at the chat for the article in the Gulf News. And there's one final question: what's the key to success, especially for women? One rule. Okay, so this is your bullet point. What's one rule they must follow?
Interesting. Okay, one rule.
Or maybe one principle, right? If rule is too strong, what's one sort of guiding idea?
I would say the same thing. Just believe in yourself. Okay, think that you can make it. Because most of the time, okay, I work with many people. I know many women. I have many friends. So some people, they just have the comfort level, just have okay, I don't want to change my life. Okay, I want to be, this is the way how I want. Okay, so quiet, I don't want any changes. Okay, I want to be a wife, or I want to be the same job. It's okay. It's okay to do that, but not for me. I'm different. I want different things. I believe in myself. And, every time I hear, even in the business, some projects when we do, I used to work in the project of the Burj Khalifa. When there was, when the construction started, I had a catering company, and I had also a manpower supply company. So when we supply food, we was feeding this project. And when the tower is going up for, like, you can see that on a weekly basis, it was difficult to bring the food up. Okay, sorry, to bring the workers down. Okay, and then so they losing man hours because there was only one service elevator. So and so we come up with a solution that we go to every floor and we shoot the food. So because of this, I got a certificate of appreciation working in the Burj Khalifa project, which is, I'm very, very proud of it. Okay, but it's when someone says it's not possible, okay, it just drives me crazy. Okay, why is that not possible? Why? I won't understand why. So is it between death? Why is not possible? So that why is not possible is always keeping me going. And I say there is nothing is impossible. Okay, if you don't try, you have to try different thing. You might fail. Of course, there is so many businesses that I started and they failed. Okay, but it does not mean that, okay, now I fail, I will stay home and I will not do anything. No, I have to try a different thing. I have to keep going. So my piece of advice will be, believe in yourself. Believe that you are the most strongest person within yourself, within your mind, and may you always have spring in your heart and in your soul. So just when you have a peace, okay, but strong mind, you can always achieve what you want.
Am I allowed to be inspired? I know it's International Women's Day, but I think this is good advice for everybody.
Of course.
Okay, I'll be an honorary woman for the day, but I mean, I do think that that's good advice for humans on planet Earth. So
it's for all. I guess it's for all. This is how I'm raising my kids now. This is how I speak to my kids.
Yeah.
This, Mom, no, that's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Nothing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to go home and parent my children differently starting this afternoon.
Trust me, it's work. Trust me, it's work. When my kids, they say, Mom, I'm bad in math. I say, listen, you have to try. Don't give up. And then my son, he came, he said, Mom, I just did it. I got A+. That's it.
There you go. Well, it's been great. I know we've been trying to have this conversation for a long time. I only regret that it's not in Toronto, but but we have a lot of snow on the ground. So in a way, the background of flowers on Zoom is much more spring-like than anything that you would have in Toronto today. Really, really great to connect your roots with your roots, your father's legacy, and all that he stood for with your own personal story on this day. And I know that you and I will be continue to be in touch, and so I look forward to more conversations about Central Asian art and other kinds of topics. And so thank you so much on behalf of the center, and let's have more conversations. You look like you have something else.
Yeah, I just want to conclude by saying thank you so much. I think the program that that series or workshop, I can say, I think it will be beneficial for students. And I think we should look into donors who can contribute to the program, because I think people should know about Central Asia. People should know personal stories. And, as you know, the Central Asia was the gem, okay? It's a gem. Some people, they don't know much about history or culture of these countries, 5 countries. And I think it is very, very important. And what you are doing is it's amazing when your contribution to this. And I will definitely look at some donors who can contribute to this program. And if someone is here listening to me, we should come together and spread the word that we need to we need this program in University of Toronto, definitely, because Toronto is a multicultural city, and there's students all over the world. So we know many things about Russia, we know many things about US, we know now about China, but we don't know anything about Central Asia. I mean, it is very, very important to also to have that a small portion of the program in monk school. So thank you so much, Dr. Edward. It's I'm very grateful for your invitation, and I'm glad that we had a good conversation, and I hope people, they get inspired not only from my life journey, but also from my father and the foundation and Turkmen cultural. I hope you guys learn something today about my country that I deeply love, and myself and my father and the foundation. Thank you.
We absolutely did. Thank you. Okay, here's a more thunderous applause from us all. And you're absolutely right. We'll be having many more conversations with students and otherwise about Central Asia to make sure that people are aware. So thanks again, Keya. Thanks everybody for joining us. We enjoy the rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are.